Hi, I'm Nicole, and in this video, I'm going to walk you through creating a new invoice with BarnManager Pro. So what you're looking at right now is the dashboard screen of BarnManager Pro. You'll get here by just clicking on invoicing from your menu right in BarnManager, and this is the first page you will see. Right at the top here, we see the Create a New Invoice button. That button will also appear on some other pages here in BarnManager Pro, but for simplicity, we'll just click on it right here from the dashboard today. And that'll open up our Create Invoice page. And from here, things are quite simple. You're going to want to start out by selecting the customer who you'd like to send an invoice to. This list is going to be populated by your contacts in BarnManager. And that's really easy to edit and to add to right in BarnManager under the Contacts tab, or you can edit and add to it in under Customers in your BarnManager Pro section of your account. Then you'll decide if you want to add horses or not to this invoice. You can add one or multiple horses. If you have a very long horse list, you can start typing horse names to narrow that list down and add whatever horses you'd like for this particular invoice. The next line, you'll see a couple date options. Your invoice date is the date that the invoice is created. That can be changed by clicking on the field and selecting the date you want to change it to. Your invoice period also can be easily changed. It'll default to the current month, but you can change that just by clicking on the field again. We do have some great shortcut options for you, so I'm going to switch this to last month. You can do custom time frames or utilize any of the other shortcut suggestions here. And then, of course, the invoice date also is going to default, the invoice due date is going to default to the same as the invoice date. But again, you can change that quite easily here, whether you want to use one of the shortcuts or choose a custom date. So the next thing that you'd want to do is to add line items to your invoice, the things that you want to bill for. And there's two ways to do that. The first is this add item option right here in the middle. The second is the add custom item. So let's start with adding an item. When I click on this, I'll be shown a list of the products, services, monthly recurring charges, and other miscellaneous charges that I've already added into the system. This can be done under products and services from that dashboard page where we just came from, or you can just add these in as you go. This is one of my favorite things, is that you can click create a new item right from here. And at the same time that you're populating this new invoice item onto your invoice, you're also saving it into the system for future use. So that's quite nice. Let's go ahead and select one of these items just so we can see it populate here. So automatically, the system is going to populate 3 line items, one for each horse on the invoice. You can really easily edit this. If you want to remove a horse, you click the trash can next to their name. If you want to remove a whole line item, you click the trash can all the way on the end. And then you can also click and edit any of the unit costs or quantities, as well as the tax rate for this particular item. If you want to add a one-time custom item, that's when you're going to use this add custom item link. This is especially great when you want to add a credit to an invoice. So let's do that here. In the case of a credit, it's probably not going to be associated with a horse, so I'm actually going to go ahead and remove these horses. And then I'm just going to type my negative amount here to apply the credit, and that'll automatically get calculated into the total. The third option here in terms of populating your invoice is if you do want to split an expense across multiple customers on multiple invoices. This is really cool for when you have shared expenses, like a shared tax doll at a show, maybe your travel expenses to a competition. So there's a lot of different use cases for this, but anytime basically that there's an expense that you need to charge out to multiple customers and or multiple horses, you're going to want to utilize this item, and it's going to be a huge lifesaver. So split expenses, you're going to click add item just like you did above for the regular invoice items. Now you're going to click what item that you'd like to share. And you'll see here, it's going to populate the top line with the full amount of the item. And then just below it, this is the line that's being applied to this invoice that I'm currently working on. Below that, I'll have the option to split it with additional customers. So I can choose as many customers as I'd like. I can then choose for each of those customers whether I want to add this to an existing open invoice that's currently a draft, or whether I want to create a brand new invoice for them. Then the next step is I can choose whether I want to also split this by horses. So let's just say I want to go ahead and put all 3 of my horses here, and then add some horses for these customers as well. So you'll notice each time I added a horse or a customer, these percentages and amounts changed. So it's automatically going to calculate how to split it evenly across the customers or horses. So I'll remove one. You can see an example of that. However, if I want to override the equal split, I can do that by either changing the percentage or the amount for one of the horses or customers, and hitting the lock button next to that, and then hitting recalculate down at the bottom. So it's just an awesome way to make sure that the full amount of the expense is being accounted for across all those customers. Now at the bottom here, we do have a place to put an invoice note. I'm going to type "thank you for your business." And that's it. I've created my first invoice. Now I have to choose if I'd like to save this as a draft and exit back to my dashboard, or continue on. For the purposes of this demonstration, let's go ahead and hit continue. So I've got a really great preview here of this particular invoice I just created, with a total breakdown by horse. Then a breakdown of all of my line items, including my credit and my split expense, with those percentages explained here. Again, I have the linked invoices up at the top from that split expense. I can click and view any of those from here as well. And I have a couple options. I can edit this again as a draft. I can delete it. I can approve it and just save it as unsent, or I can go ahead and approve and send. Let's go ahead and approve it and plan to send it later on. That'll take us to our dashboard, and we can see right here, we've got our invoice that we created for Andrew Smith that is unsent. We also have our new invoice that was created for Emily with that split expense that we can open up and add other items to. And just like that, you've created a new invoice here in BarnManager Pro.